I'm going to call this committee of the whole to order. Present, I have Vice Mayor John Burgess, Councilwoman Wendy Lobos, Councilman Melvin McCormick, and Councilwoman Judy Waldman. And Sheila is going to be calling in Miss Sierra. She's out of town. While she is calling her, I'll go ahead and open the committee of the whole up and entertain the motion to receive the October 23rd, 2007 minutes, tab 1.
So moved.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the ayes carry. Item B, council seat number 1, the Northwest District vacancy discussion, tab 2. Mr. Ivey?
What we have before you, of course, we know that Mr. Losner had resigned from his position effective the day of the election, and that this creates a vacancy. There's a certain procedure which you have outlined here, teased out the days and everything for the procedure, and the discussion is maybe only to clarify how Mayor and Council wants to go. You're going to make the selection. You're going to take the resumes, and I think some have already come in, and then from those you will look, decide who the candidate you're going to propose to the rest of the council, and then they vote, and an affirmative vote puts that person on for the remainder of Mr. Losner's term, which is right at 2 years.
I was going to say the only real issue here is how long the application period should stay open.
Yes.
And that's the issue, because we need to know what to put in the announcement, and it's between 5 and 15 days. So
Let's go ahead and keep it open for the full 15 days so that we allow everybody who's interested to submit an application. I would like to personally review each and every one, and then I would also like to interview each and every person that submits an application for the Northwest seat. Okay? Thank you very much. And that's just for discussion. We would need to be moving on that. Item 3, the internal auditor position, tab 3. I'll go ahead and open the floor with that discussion. We had a lot of discussion on this, as everybody knows, since we just came off of this election cycle, and it definitely was a hot topic. We are going to open the auditor position back up. One of the things I would like a motion on is the fact that this prior council had opened this up to being basically being outsourced to a firm. I would like to hire an in-house auditor, somebody that would work directly for the city of Homestead. So that is the area that I would like a motion to entertain on that the actual position comes back in-house. Mr. Ivey, you have any comment on that?
Just that here at the COW, that will become an agenda item on the consent agenda for the next council meeting.
Okay.
Mayor Bell, I have a question.
Yes.
If it's okay now.
Yes, go ahead, Councilwoman Waldman.
I'm concerned only because if this is the same job announcement that was used before, and I'm not sure if it was, Marcy, this was literally advertised for over a year and a half before we had anybody that met the qualifications. I'm wondering if we can enhance it some way to make it more attractive, maybe put a pay scale in there or do something, because we put it out to headhunters, we put it out to, it was in many different papers. Marcy, you can help me with this because my memory doesn't always go back accurately a year and a half ago. But
Mayor and Council, when this position originally became a part of the charter and the new position, we did start posting it everywhere. We did put ads in the paper, and we have put ads in the Internal Auditor Association, as well as with the Governmental Finance Officers Association. We did use several headhunters on a fee base if we could find a position. We found in the past, you mentioned about enhancing it by adding the pay scale. One of the things that we discovered was that these positions are at a premium, and finance positions like this internal auditor position are going for a large pay salary, and we found it was better to have DOQ, depending on qualifications, open rather than putting a specific salary in and eliminating somebody because it would be too low and they wouldn't consider it at all. We have not necessarily not considered any over a certain amount.
Well,
We were taking any application.
My reason to bring this up is that we were paying, I thought, on the low side to our internal auditor.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Yes.
I mean, we were paying really on the low side to Mr. Albritton. So in order to get what I think you want, and we want it as well, is, we're going to, if you want somebody in here that's really, really good, we're going to have to pay a little bit of money to do that. And maybe we're going to have to enhance it because we didn't get any, the responses that we got they weren't even CPAs.
Right, that's true.
It was awful. It was awful. So that's just a suggestion, Mayor Bell. I'm just throwing it out there that you do something to enhance it.
Thank you. I
So that we can get a quality auditor,
I have a suggestion. Any other comments from council on that?
Yes, if I may. I was just thinking that maybe we can just include a base salary so that at least people know an area of what we're looking to pay. That would probably be helpful. And we're not committing to specific salary.
Have we, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I was going to ask what that base salary would be. The previous auditor was paid $70,000, and we were receiving a lot more that wanted to be paid well over $100,000,
Yes.
$120,000, $130,000,
Yes.
$140,000. So I just need some direction on what that
I'm going to
is.
throw an idea out there. And I know we're talking about governmental experience, and we're talking about someone with a lot of experience in government. There are a lot of very sharp CPAs and who go on for extended education who have a specialized, who get a degree specializing in governmental accounting. Have we considered getting someone out of college?
We posted it at the colleges.
Posted
Yeah.
in a lot of places, and
Because there are some colleges that really target and out of state as well. Let's post it in Maine or Minnesota where it's freezing, and some of them might just love to come to sunny South Florida. So I think we need to broaden our horizons a little bit and go outside and think a little bit differently, because it wouldn't be a bad thing to get somebody who specializes in a particular type of accounting that is fresh out of school, because we may get someone who's young and aggressive and willing to really, put their footprint here in Homestead. So I think we should open the door to that.
Anything to enhance,
Just out of curiosity, what was a firm, if we had gone with a firm as the prior council had voted, what was a dollar figure for that? Any idea?
It was really kind of done on a job basis. Call in, we need you to look at this. And then they would give us...
So they were only going to come in if we called them, they wouldn't be here to try and
That's how that
work
worked, yes. We could, as we needed them.
It was going to be per occurrence.
Right.
So if you wanted to target a specific department or specific controls, we would have brought an auditor in for that particular control in that particular department. Whereas an internal auditor comes in the city, and this is his job, this is his home, this is where he works, and he begins looking throughout. That's why I really wanted the auditor to be in-house. So Marcy, let's put our heads together on that with with manager staff. Let's open this up. Let's send it out to different colleges who really specialize in not just CPA and accounting, but governmental accounting as well. So I think that we should really take a look in some different areas.
And
Okay.
we're looking at then moving off of having a minimum of 5 years experience in governmental accounting and auditing.
Yes,
So we would relax that.
I would. You can even leave it as suggested, but not required.
I have a question.
Slovis?
Since we had such a slow response last time, what kind of advertising did we do? Did we not explore all the options that Mayor Bell has suggested?
Yes, we did. We've done that several times, and a lot of it is in the timing of it. This was a brand-new position at the time that we were posting it, and obviously that was almost a year ago now. And what we found from time to time is sometimes we were ahead of the curve, and it's not to say that a year later we might not be able to find someone now that a year ago or 2 years ago.
And Mayor Bell?
We posted on the Internal Auditors Association, the Finance Government, GFOA. We posted there. We put an ad in the Herald. We do jobbing.com. We put it on our website. We put it wherever we can. I put it in my personnel associations all over Florida and national, as well as any suggestion.
Let's do it again.
Everything.
Mayor Bell, may I just add one thing?
Councilwoman.
Ms. Lobos, this has been an ongoing thing since 2001 that we've been advertising. This has not just been in the last year. This was way before that we've been advertising the entire time. And it's very discouraging when we interviewed a gentleman from South Africa that we thought was going to be wonderful. And there was criminal background there that didn't pass. There was just all kinds of things. So I encourage you to enhance it, and I think you're making a good decision to do that. And I think salary is going to be what's going to bring them to us.
And we may have to negotiate on that as well. I have a question for the attorneys. Do I need to have a motion in order to return it back to an in-house position, since there was a prior council motion to outsource it? So that's what I assumed.
Yes.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion now.
I'll make a motion.
It's been properly moved by Vice Mayor Burgess that we go ahead and bring the auditor in-house.
And I second that.
It's been seconded by Councilwoman Lobos. Any comments from council? Any comments from the audience?
I do have one
Mrs.
question.
Powell.
Good evening. Clara Waldman Powell, 2274 Southeast 27th Drive. I just want to share some personal comments with you. During my very career, for 7 years, I did work as an in-house consultant for Aetna Life and Casualty. I traveled around the country. I was assigned by the Home Office to audit 55 different cities. I did this for 7 years. I was in-house in that I was assigned by them. However, when I went to the office, I was allowed to audit their productivity systems, incentive systems. If I found something wrong, such as I did fraud, I report it to the general manager and I report it to my home office. I personally feel that if I had been under the discretion of the general manager, he might have found some ways to make my life unbearable because I prevented him from getting job raises, etc. I think by having an in-house auditor, they might fear for their job. So you need to think of how you're going to have controls within the city so that the person doing the auditing is not in fear of repercussions. This is from my heart as an auditor who would go into cities and everybody would look at you, oh no, she's here again, you know. But I just wanted, there must be some way that we can have a control within the city so the auditor is not fearful of their job, and that they also, however, I do like the fact that they will know of all the departments. I think that's important, to know how the departments interrelate, and this is very important too. So I like having one person who knows all the departments rather than bringing strange people in. But you need to have some sort of control.
Clara, thank you. And by the way, the auditor will answer to the mayor and council. So that they will be answerable to the mayor and council.
And so if they audit
by the mayor and council.
So if they audit, will they be auditing any functions of the mayor and council?
They could, and they could audit the manager's office. They would be free to do that, but they would answer to 7 people, and I do believe it's going to be a different atmosphere.
So I was just thinking that if they audited, they found something wrong with the mayor and council, they would be reporting to you.
They're going to have to report to somebody.
Yeah. Well, that's fine.
Right. Well, thank you for your comments. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Mayor Bell, Councilwoman Sierra has joined the meeting.
Welcome, Councilwoman Sierra. You had a hard time getting on the line.
Councilwoman Sierra?
Hello, yes?
Good evening, Councilwoman Sierra. We just had a motion, and we're going to go ahead and have a vote on returning the auditor's position to an in-house position, and we had a second, and we're getting ready to take a vote. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the ayes carry. Thank you very much. Thank you for that good discussion. The next item on the agenda is Progress Energy Power Supply Amendment, tab 4.
Mayor and Council, it's the recommendation of staff that the current purchase power agreement with Progress Energy be amended to increase the purchase of base capacity from 20 megawatts to 25 megawatts, which would begin in 2008, if I'm correct, in 2008. We do have in our current agreement the ability to get 5 more megawatts. We're going to need it. So, and this is for a year only. That's all they would extend it for. So, but that will help us this year in our expected growth.
I'll move it, Mayor.
It's been properly moved
I'll second.
and seconded. Any comments or questions from council? Any comments or questions from the audience? All in favor say aye. Aye. And the ayes carried. Thank you. Item E, health insurance renewal, tab 5.
Mayor and Council, it's staff's recommendation that the City Council approve the renewal of the city's employees and retirees group health insurance coverage with United Healthcare for the year 2008, with option, the HMO option in the chart that you have accompanying your paperwork, option 3, and the PPO option 4. This does not increase the contribution by the employee. The current, this does not increase the current contribution from the employees. A little background, we have certainly Tom here and Bruce and Marcy who worked on this for in-depth questions, but when we started to renew this year, the increase was right at 23%. We did some negotiation, got it down to 15. Now, we really had in mind around the area of 10%, and to get it there, we had to further negotiate, and there were some changes, and I left this sheet here. There's some increases on minimum payments that had gone up for certain services to reach the 10% agreement. I don't know if you want to talk to Tom or Bruce.
Let's go ahead and get a motion on the floor. Is there a motion for approval?
Motion with a question, please.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Waldman.
I'll second that.
It's been seconded by Vice Mayor Burgess. Yes, Councilwoman.
Just for the record, I just want to know why it didn't go out for bid.
Okay. We chose not to. I mean, every year we could bid out the insurance every year, but that's really a nightmare for everybody because you'll be changing your insurance every year, your doctors, potentially, and the processes and the paperwork. That's one issue with changing. This will be our 3rd year, by the way, working on our 3rd year. Secondly, and again, I will defer to Bruce and Tom if I say anything inaccurate here, but it's good to show somewhat of a track record with the health insurance business to have some kind of period of time where they know if they bid your contract that they're going to have you for a little bit, not just 1 year. Otherwise, you're not going to get good quotes from them for business because you're changing everything.
I have no problem. I'm very happy with Chair Jones, but just for the record, because we're always talking about RFPs,
yes.
I wanted an explanation on the record for that. So thank you very much.
Like I said, I think I'm in the ballpark there, but those are 2 major reasons why you want a little longevity, unless there's just something really terrible with them. You want a little longevity.
No, I just wanted it on the record. Thank you.
And that's a good question, actually, but and I totally agree with you. There are some things that you do want a constancy with, and that would be your health insurance, as well as we do have somebody that is bidding for us. So there's that. Ms. Lobos?
Yes, I have a question. Since switching over in January of 2006, what has been the employee response? Have they liked this new company? I mean, is it something, a positive response?
And I'll defer to Marcy. I'll just say yes. I think overall, we had a few transitional issues, with everything, prescriptions, this and that. But I don't think there was anything very serious. It was just the normal flow there. Good.
One of the things, Mayor and Council, that
Is your microphone on, Marcy? Okay.
doesn't hear.
We need a new city hall.
I think it's the phone killing the system.
One of the things that when we made the change 3 years ago from Blue Cross to United Healthcare was the HMO is an open access HMO. The other HMO we had was you had to have a primary referral to your primary and then get a referral to a specialist. And the United Healthcare plan, the HMO, you can go to any HMO, any doctor, and it uses the same network. The difference in the HMO is it's less out of pocket than the PPO, but the PPO is the choice of using.
Yes, we're working on that.
May be in network and may not be in network. So we have that option.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
My question is obviously 10% is better than 23%, so that was a good job. But is 10%, is that is that a pretty good average of an increase as far as other people are looking at and all that? Is that, obviously, it sounds good. And then one other concern I had is, I was told that we haven't, and this isn't to get any employees mad, but we haven't upped their payment in 4 years, I believe is correct, or 3.5 years. And I'm just worried that somewhere down the line, if we ever do have to, that it may be a big increase. And then we're going to be in trouble with some employees and maybe not being able to afford that. But that's just something down the road. That's nothing for tonight, so don't anybody get mad at me on my first night.
Let me just clarify both of the things. One, on the contributions from the employees, the union employees is built in their contracts. Hello? One of the things on the contribution from the employees is the contribution is built in the union contract. So since 62% of our workforce is union, we would have to negotiate that, and we may or may not look at that next year when we start with the negotiations. We couldn't increase it this year because of the contract at this point.
And the 10%?
I did a survey all over the state from my cohorts in personnel and human resources, and the bad part is you can't compare like. We all have plans that are different. A lot of people only offer an HMO and no PPO. They have huge contributions, possibly by percentage as opposed to a flat dollar amount. And a lot of people are going to a high deductible health plan with a health savings account. And we're not. Our plan is a very good plan. We have a lot of doctors in the South area, which is one of the things our employees like about it. And that was the HMO, the open access was a huge plus for us to move to that.
I can help a little bit. We're negotiating labor contracts around the state, and 12% is sort of what I'm seeing in a lot of plans, so 10% is better than a lot of cities that we're dealing with are getting.
And I did budget 10% increase for 9 months of the year, so it does fall in line with what I budgeted for the health insurance.
Thank you very much. Any further comments or questions from council?
No.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the ayes carry. Thank you very much. Marcy, thank you. Item 2F, residential building moratorium discussion, addendum number 1. You'll have the addendum on your desk. I'll go ahead and open the floor with the conversation. I discussed this back in June about the possibility of a 1-year residential building moratorium. And I wanted to give you my thinking at the time on this 1-year residential building moratorium. When I brought this up, I'm referring to high-density projects only, super high-density, which is, well, actually, it would be anything, it's actually considered medium because it's anything over 6. And I'm really specifically referring to high-density projects only, such as the condominiums and the townhouses. 1 year in order to take a look at the ordinances, take a look at the master plan, and kind of re-examine the land development regulations, the comp plan policies, the public infrastructure issues that we have in the city of Homestead. Take a look at the transportation master plan, see where we are compared to when the master plan was actually constructed, and also take a look at the capital improvement plan. So when I talked about this 1-year moratorium, it's not to stop growth, it's just to slow growth for a 1-year period to allow these infrastructure challenges that you're seeing in the city of Homestead time to catch up with the growth. And there are things that we do need to take a look at, in particular with our capital improvement plan. James, is there anything you'd like to elaborate on what I've just spoken about?
Yes, just for introduction to the new council members, this is James White, who's a lawyer with our office, who provides advice on land use matters. We assume everybody knows everybody, but they...
And we keep him very, very busy.
Well, just for the new council members, this issue was raised this summer. We were asked to look into the specific issue and research whether or not we could impose a building moratorium on the high-density residential, primarily townhouse type of condominium higher density development. We did look at that, and we did advise at that point in juncture that we would be able to legally support and defend a proposed building moratorium based on a lot of the things that the mayor just had mentioned, and that was looking at your comp plan policies pertaining to density and to capital improvements, public utilities and infrastructure, looking at proposed land development regulations pertaining to density, townhouse development, higher density type of development. In addition to a transportation master plan, checking to see what their short and long-term goals are, all of the other utility master plans that you have in the city. The primary goal of the moratorium is that you have to have a rational nexus and you have to have a public purpose behind that, and all of those things that were just mentioned and enumerated by the mayor would go to support that public purpose for enacting a moratorium. Having said that, I'd be happy to answer any further questions that you may have, but that's sort of the framework that we're dealing with at this point.
And one of the things I even forgot to mention was a wastewater treatment facility and water capacity. That's one of the things I didn't even mention. So there are so many things to take a look at that I think it would behoove the city and it would be wise to just enact this for 1 year. So there are many questions, and so I'd like to open the floor.
Question.
Yes. Councilwoman Waldman.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. As I said in June, I'm not opposed to this. I've never been opposed to it, but I am concerned because I think that we need to be very definitive and very specific. Because my major concern, maybe I didn't make it clear enough last time, my major concern are lawsuits, and if you found a way, and that was your job to go back and bring back to us, which you have done so tonight, but I have a couple of questions. I made a lot of notes today. The vested rights, you know, my concern is that I want to know the definition of pipeline. Would this affect anyone who's in the pipeline? What is the definition of the pipeline? Does that mean that somebody that's just filled out a form, somebody that's paid a fee? You know, we need to be very, very specific and definitive when we do this. I also think that it's time, and we talked about this at our last council meeting with our prior council, it's time to change the meaning of medium density. When you have 6 to 10, everybody that comes in here is going to go for the 10. So, you know, I think all this could be combined into one thing. And we talked about it at I don't think I was at the second meeting. I think I was out of town for whatever reason. But I know at the first meeting, we really were back and forth. We were all over the place. I don't think you were at the first meeting, Ms. Bell.
No, I was in Tallahassee.
Right. So we were in opposite time schedules. But I just think it's very important. My suggestion would probably be 8. You know, be in the middle, because medium density does have it needs a clarification. It can't, you know, we're up to 6 for single-family homes. So, but I mean, these are just suggestions, but we have to start somewhere. But can you answer my question as to how many projects that are not in the pipeline, or would it affect the projects that are already in the pipeline?
I was just going to answer.
And could we keep it on the east side and not on the west side?
What we would recommend that you direct us to do is to bring you back a moratorium ordinance that goes as far back in the pipeline as we can without incurring liability for the city. And that deals with the issue of the pipeline and also the issue raised on vested rights. So what we would recommend that you direct us to do is to go as far back as we can without incurring liability for the city. Now, it may be that when we get down to the very fine, there may be a gray area, and we'll advise you as to the gray area, but our intention would be to come back with something that goes as far as we can go without incurring liability. People can always file lawsuits, and they may, but what we need to, our responsibility to bring you back something that we think is defensible, and that where we think that we've drawn the line appropriately, so we're not incurring liability.
Mayor Bill, I'd be happy to make that motion.
Thank you. It's been probably moved by Councilwoman Waldman. I'll entertain a second.
I second that.
It's been seconded by Councilwoman Lobos. Also, I would like to say that we have a city where many areas have been master planned. So we have those areas that have been carved out from master plan already. We're exempting all commercial. So we have taken into account many other issues. So this is a very specific, very tailored moratorium. So thank you. I do appreciate your comments, Councilwoman Waldman. They're very well taken. And so this is a very specific, very tailored master plan for a moratorium for a very specific period of time. So I think the community is going to find it painless and actually very, very refreshing and something that the community really, really needs. Any further comments from council?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I would suggest that the motion be that in terms of the time, that be
as soon as possible.
Be for a year, but if the work that can be done more quickly, then the moratorium would end more quickly, and that's what the courts have suggested is appropriate, so that we're not setting a year in a random way. We're just saying get the work done up to a year. If the work can get done more quickly, that's fine. And then in terms of the density, how far back we go in the pipeline, I think Councilwoman Waldman's motion includes what I said, which is that we're going to go back as far as we can without incurring liability.
Very good.
Did I hear her say only on the east side also?
I think she asked a question. James, you want to address the...
Well, what we had discussed this summer was exempting out in the moratorium commercial, industrial, and things in the southwest neighborhood and the northwest neighborhood. You're just about to end your 1-year plus extension moratorium in the northwest neighborhood, and we've completed that master planning process, which you've adopted, and coming before you will be land development regulations and the Northwest Neighborhood Overlay District. So those on the west side, those things on the west side could be exempt, and I would recommend that we exempt those from this particular moratorium, focusing more on the available, the land closer on the east side where much of the impacts are happening.
Absolutely, and that was the original intention, actually, especially since the Northwest was undergoing its master plan as well as the Southwest. So it really does pertain to the east side, so very good. Any other comments?
Yes, Mayor Bell, if I may. I just want to say that I do support this, and the reason why I support it is because after reading the discussion, I see that it's a very specific moratorium. It's not just a blanket, everybody's going to fall under this 1-year moratorium. And I did read Mayor Warren's comments about the Southwest section, that there's a need for new housing over there and probably not the single homes that we're looking to build. And so I'm comfortable that this moratorium is going to exempt that area, because if they need it, they will get it.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Barbosa. That's what was perplexing to me at the time that I proposed the moratorium back in June, because we had so carefully carved out and exempted sections that were already under master plan, including the Southwest and the Northwest. So every concern really was taken care of in my conversations, and when I directed staff to take a look at it, we really had done our homework prior to bringing this to council. And so anyway, that's it. So what I'd like to do at this point is open the floor for any comments or questions from anybody in the audience before we go for a vote.
Maybe I might just say one more thing. I just think it's very important that, that we're heading in the direction as James suggested and as the council has suggested, because we don't want businesses to be deterred from going into the Southwest section as well. That Southwest section they need new housing. So I'm very grateful that this council has realized, because that's been my major concern, was to make sure that it was the east side that we're talking about, and we allow the businesses to come on the west side as well as the east side.
Yeah, actually the moratorium doesn't even deal with commercial. Commercial is free to come, so...
But we need the rooftops. So that's why I'm so right. Well, now that I'm so happy. Thank you.
Okay, good.
James, do you know about how far we can go back? Any idea how far along legally? Just an idea.
There are I would say a handful of projects, townhouse projects, that are currently in the pipeline. Some that are very early on in the process that are part of a proposed PUD, which has not even come to you for master plan approval yet. There are other projects which have gone to, which are actually before you for second reading, or projects that have been to P&Z or pending P&Z. So those projects are much further in the pipeline. So we will evaluate those projects. Sherry has a list of those projects if you want to get into that this evening. However, we could look at that with your staff and evaluate it and analyze it and advise you all as such and provide that those exemptions in the moratorium. Also, too, Councilman Walden, the moratorium ordinance that we'll be drafting will provide for waivers, and it does also provide for a vested rights determination as well. So those are built-in protections for someone who wants to avail themselves of those pursuant to the moratorium ordinance, in addition to those exemptions that will clearly be stated in the moratorium. So that's to address your earlier question.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the ayes carry. Thank you. And we'll look forward to that ordinance being brought back to council. Thank you. Next item on the agenda. You like my light agenda? Of course. Next item on the agenda is the red light traffic camera ordinance, Addendum 2. And I'll go ahead and open up this discussion as well. This is another issue that I brought to council quite a while ago, and it's kind of been in Never Never Land installed, but we had had an ordinance prepared on this, and so we are bringing the ordinance forth tonight, and I would entertain any questions right now. I know the ordinance is before you with the addendum number 2. Any comments or questions from council? Well, let me entertain a motion first. Entertain a motion to approve this?
I'll move it.
It's been properly moved by Vice Mayor Burgess.
Second.
And it's been seconded by Councilwoman Waldman. Now open the floor for questions.
Question, Mayor.
Councilwoman Waldman?
I think everybody likes this idea. I mean, we were all very excited about it. Will this go out for an RFP? Or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I thought that it would be best to take the council out of that and let it absolutely let it go into RFP. Take a look at the qualifications of all companies. One of the there was one requirement that I wanted the company that we do hire to be able to do, and that is to be standalone. I wanted the ability for whichever company we hire to be able to have standalone equipment that does not access Dade County poles, because I didn't want to have to go through the county's process to get permission from the county in order to install the cameras. So if we have our own standalone cameras, then that means we will have the ability to install those. We will maintain them, and we will have that ability. This is going to be treated as a code issue at this time because the state of Florida has not yet approved this as an actual bill. So as long as that, we're going to be handling that as ourselves as a code issue. It's been tested. Sunbreeze was the first city in the entire state of Florida that has been doing this for a long time. You're seeing cameras going up all over Florida, and I think it's a safety issue. That's the bottom line. It's a safety issue. I know there's been a lot written about it lately, and some good, some not so good. But let me tell you, at the end of the day, and one of the things that I've been reading about lately was one of the articles talked about an increased incidence of rear-end collisions. Well, if anybody has known the difference between a T-bone collision and a rear-end collision, I will take a rear-end collision any day over the T-boning of somebody running through a red light and slamming into your door and killing you. By the way, you might have a slight increase in the very beginning of rear-end collisions, but that will cool off as people get used to actually stopping at red lights. What a novel idea, right? So as people get used to obeying the law again, then you're going to see those rear-end collisions decrease, and people will be safer in the city of Homestead. And that's a very, very important issue to me. It's something I've been trying to bring to the council for almost 2 years now. So it's a very, very important issue to me. Any further comments or questions from council?
Yes, Mayor Bill, I have a question. If the red light bill passes in Tallahassee, how does that affect the ordinance as far as enforcement? Will it increase the level of enforcement we'll have over this?
Right. It would increase what we've done is we've done, I'm going to call it a second best by using our code enforcement process. If the legislation passed it in Tallahassee, we would then be able to use our regular process, and people would actually get citations and so forth. So it would the cameras that you're considering purchasing would be used, and we would just revise this ordinance so that the whole citation method would be improved, and the special master process would be taken out of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions from council?
Just a comment. I was hit by a guy that ran a red light years ago on Caribbean, and if I hadn't been in a big Cadillac my mother was driving, we would have all been killed. So he was going 15 miles an hour, he ran the red light, and I was sitting in the intersection. My son was only about 7 years old at the time, and it was a horrible experience. Horrible. So.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yes.
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to comment, which I think might be interesting to those listening, is that we have provided a 90-day
that's right.
grace period, so that people can sort of get used to this before, unless they're issued a citation by a police officer,
right.
Which of course would be valid. But in terms of our process, the special master process, there's a 90-day initialization period that would be implemented to let people get used to this.
I'm sorry, can I just, it says commencing 6 months.
You changed it.
Right. Oh, you changed it.
This was all, the agenda was sort of put together, and this was added. The one that's on your desk under addendum 2, is it? Sure. 2 is the 90-day period. Originally it was 6 months. It's been shortened to 90 days.
I was concerned about the 6 months when I first saw the 6 month. I thought that people, if they saw the cameras and there was no penalty whatsoever and 6 months goes by, that they were not even going to see the cameras, and it was going to kind of dilute the importance of why we're doing this. So I thought 3 months was very fair, 90 days for people to get used to, and they'll get a courtesy violation, which means they won't be fined, but it lets them know that the next time that they do this, that they will be receiving a fine. So it's 90 days is plenty of time for people to get used to stopping at the red light again. I mean, we weren't going to put the cameras up and then start fining them the very next day. It was really not about the money. It's really about safety. Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Lobos. Any further comments?
If somebody's a repeat offender over 90 days, are we just going to keep allowing them to do it, or are we going to shut them off after so many strikes? You know, if somebody gets 5 letters, are we just going to allow them to keep doing it for 90 days? Because at the end of 90 days, they're going to still do it.
Well, every time they go through on a second violation, the fee goes up and the fee goes up. So we'll take care of that.
Yeah, but he's talking about people
prior to the 90-day
period. Yeah. We don't have a provision there, but we could add a provision when it comes back to you that says that if somebody receives 2 or more,
then their grace period may be shut off.
Then they're live. Then they can start. We can change. We
the
could
grace
add that.
period is null and void.
Right.
Okay. Good. Very good comment, Vice Mayor. Thank you.
Would you like us to amend the ordinance when it comes back for first reading to do that?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do that.
I mean, we could make it 2 or 3, whatever people think, but I think
it's a good
if we just keep letting people do it,
Try to get in as many as possible.
Does more than 2 sound?
Yeah, I think 2 or more.
2 or more.
Yeah, 2 or more. Very good. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any further comments or questions from council? All in favor say aye. Aye. And the ayes carry. This is moving along very, very well. Item 3, Finance Committee, third-party administrator, TPA Workers' Compensation Program contract renewal. Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor and Council, it's staff's recommendation that City Council approve the renewal of our contract for the third-party administrator over our self-insured workers' compensation program to Preferred Governmental Claims Solutions. We've worked with them for a number of years. They've been very good handling the administration of our workers' comp claims. This reflects a 15% increase, but we have not had an increase since 2002. So 5 years, there's been no increase. So we think that's fair.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Been properly moved.
I second it.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Any comments or questions from council? All in favor say aye. Aye. And the ayes carry. Thank you. Item B, SunTrust Bank Procurement Card Services, tab 7.
Mayor and Council, it's staff's recommendation that Council approve the agreement with SunTrust Bank for procurement card services. As you know, we do have a procurement card program. This enhances those services and it really kind of upgrades from our original contract for these procurement cards, which we originally started in 1996. But they do upgrade it to allow some online transactions that help finance It also handles, it also provides for an annual rebate, kind of like a Discover card. And there's a chart in there and a little bit of a formula as to how they determine that. It also allows PC transactions uploaded automatically to the accounting software, so it just makes it a lot easier and streamlined to deal with.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
With pleasure. This is a really good thing.
So moved.
Second.
And seconded by Vice Mayor. Comments, questions from council?
Yes, Mayor Bell, I just need something cleared up. Is this a new agreement or a renewal of an existing agreement?
Well, actually, it is, we've been with, this company has been purchased a couple of times. They've changed names a couple of times because they've been purchased. We've been in the program for the cards have been in place since for 11 years. The contract you're looking at today is a piggyback contract off of the Venice, Florida contract.
And there's my question. I saw the copy of that contract that they have, and they get a lot of fees waived, including the $10,000 initial one-time fee. So I was just wondering if that's going to be waived for us as well?
Yeah,
Saw that.
it is. We don't have that as well.
Okay.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the ayes carry. Thank you very much. On to Public Safety Committee, Mutual Aid Agreement, City of Miami Beach Police Department, tab 8.
Mayor and Council, well, I guess I should say this is our usual mutual aid agreement, as you're used to, but this is our standard mutual aid agreement with other law enforcement officers that we put in place in advance, and it's really replacing an older one that's expired, in which this designates the ability to go into each other's jurisdiction to help upon request with various emergencies, special operations. For us, for example, the race. We bring other jurisdictions down to work with us, so that's mutual aid hurricanes, mutual aid riot control, big events. We have mutual aids.
Very important, very, very helpful to the cities.
Is this better?
I'll entertain a motion. Been properly moved by Councilwoman Waldman.
I'll second it.
And seconded by Councilwoman Lobos. Any further comments or questions from council?
It comes and goes. It's really weird. It's like there's a bad connection.
We understand, because we are hearing the humming on our end as well. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the ayes carry. Thank you very much.
And because we have so many new people, just 2 points. We're using terms that you may or may not know. In terms of piggybacking, what it means is that if another government goes through a competitive process to procure a service or a good, that that we can waive our competitive bidding process and use the whole process that they went to and basically adopt their contract so that we don't have to go through the bidding process. And then the other thing, just on the mutual aid agreement, the thing that's significant about these agreements is that when we go and help another jurisdiction, under normal circumstances there would be an issue as to liability if something happened or if we did something that caused liability, whether that's the jurisdiction that we're trying to help or our liability. And these mutual aid agreements basically said that each jurisdiction just assumes their own liability. So it's very clear that when we're helping out, if there's a problem, it's our problem. If somebody's helping out us on a hurricane or a race, it's their problem. And so that's the key of these agreements, which is that we're going to help each other, but the liability is very clearly defined, so there's no issue if there's a problem.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you for the clarification, Kim. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And the ayes carry. Thank you. Item B, Mobile Command Vehicle Change Order of Equipment, tab 9.
Mayor and Council, staff's recommendation to process the following change orders that are related to the construction and outfitting of the police department's mobile command vehicle. The one we had, that you'll see over at the racetrack, is
I'll move this with pleasure. Trust me, this is important.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Waldman.
I will second.
It's been seconded by Vice Mayor Burgess. I have a question, though. The change orders are pretty hefty.
There's several changes here that when we initially approved, it did not have this kind of equipment for communications. That's your major issue with, and I brought someone here to explain that if you hear.
I would, yes.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
What questions can I answer specifically why we wanted to add this equipment?
Yes, increased cost of the change orders, the justification.
One of the major issues is at the direction of the chief of police and the city manager. They said that they wanted to make sure that this vehicle would have the capacity in the event of a disaster similar scale that we had with Hurricane Andrew here to be able to support all the city functions, whether it be here at City Hall or be at the police department, that the vehicle could stand alone in order to be able to connect to our telephone infrastructure and connect to our data infrastructure and to have satellite communications in order to accomplish that no matter where it is. Also, when we go to other jurisdictions and help them if there was a hurricane in one of our sister cities, we'd be able to use that equipment. The equipment that we've chosen is the same type of equipment that we currently use at the police station and would be seamless for the operators that use the vehicle so that you don't have to have some super technical wizard with it when they come. They can just easily deploy it and then use the same kind of systems that they're used to all the time in communicating like we normally do with the city in the police department.
Yes, just to emphasize on what Chief said, what Mayor Bell said, Chief Bell, I support the city police, by the way, 100%. I just want to know, what triggered this change in order? Like, is this something that we didn't want at the beginning?
Well, what happened was when we ordered the command post vehicle itself with quite a few bells and whistles on it, but then what we decided as we went along, did we want to just put one desktop PC on a desk in it? Did we want to just put one telephone that you would answer? And what we decided is that we should be able to pull a vehicle up next to here and be able to provide complete infrastructure using the satellite infrastructure that was already part of that price. That we thought that we should leverage the technologies that we've already purchased by making them operate standalone in the setting of this vehicle in the event of some kind of disaster or loss of communications. Even in the small 4 or 5 storms the year we had the 4 hurricanes, there was a lot of times where we lost power, lost communications, and even in those situations, even when they're smaller hurricanes, they could support this infrastructure. And one of the things that the chief had said, when we went to Hurricane Ivan, when we went up there to assist them, their entire county seat was operating out of one of these buses, their entire infrastructure, because the buildings and everything were destroyed. So this gives you the ability to do that, and we wanted to make sure that we could do that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that good explanation. Councilwoman Waldman?
Well, it's really a question and a statement, but I know, Chief, that the police department has gone to many, many other cities for training, for emergency services, and from what I remember, this was always recommended. So it's just been a little long in coming, but you know, when you see how this city operates, when we have an emergency, when we have an impending storm or any kind of an emergency, it's amazing the operations that are set up immediately at this dais. I mean, I'm just in awe when I walk in, but I think this has been something that's been recommended for some time, and I certainly think it's a wise thing to do.
Thank you very much for the explanation. Yes.
Just add, go ahead. No. Hold up, Josh. I think you have another question after this. Just not that it diminishes any cost issue, but this is out of forfeiture funds.
Right.
This is not out of regular tax ad valorem money. This is money from drug money, confiscated laundering money, those kinds of things, and it helps us out.
Thank you for clarifying that, because that was...
Thank you, drug dealers.
Just one.
It's true.
Vice Mayor Burgess has a question.
Just with the way that technology and electronics and things are progressing every 6 months, is this vehicle are we going to be able to upgrade it at not such a great expense in the future when more technical things come out for us and things like that? Has all that been taken into account for? I'm sure it has. Absolutely, sir. We've designed the vehicle to rack-ready vehicle, which means that the equipment, computer equipment, and all the electronic infrastructure is in racks, and the vehicle is wired so you could adapt anything. It would just be a matter of working with our IT people to install later the latest equipment or whatever. But we've done even though we've been developing this vehicle for 2 years, we've pretty well maintained a current level of technology, so we're going to be getting the latest stuff.
Thank you. I know we also, Kurt and I were in D.C. lobbying on behalf of the Mobile Command Unit to get increased dollars for this as well. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the ayes carry. Thank you. Item, under Public Safety, item C, Engineering Services for the Police Firing Range, Addendum 3.
Mayor and Council, what we're recommending here is to get some professional engineering services in regards to the construction of, we call it a firing range, but it's also more than just that. It's multi-purpose. The intent is to build a training center. Since the racetrack was built, the city PD has not had a firearms range in which we can continue to certify our police officers. And there's quite a bit of requirement for firearms certification and recertification that occurs. And we have to, we're kind of nomads, we have to go around and lease time from other departments. About a year ago, there was a GSA notice that came out, maybe a little more on the timing, that requested any interest in a piece of property just east of the airbase. And we expressed our interest in it and was awarded 20 acres which to build this. We're in the process, the engineering company, to go through, do the environmentals on it, and this was given to us, so the property didn't cost us. Now what we're doing is the engineering, the mitigation for any wetland issues. Anytime we're out around that area, there'll be some of those available. But we're hoping at the end of this, at least our vision and plan, is that we're going to have a nice training center here. And the good thing about it is it's not just a firearms range. It'll be a training center for several things, like the dogs, different tactical exercises. And this makes it very favorable for other jurisdictions to release this from us. We feel that we can keep the maintenance from the money we make from leasing it to other agencies. It'll also allow us to do something with the civilians in terms of firearms training, concealed weapons permit. We even have planned in there as a long rifle, zeroing in on a longer rifle range there, so hunters in the community can come in and zero their weapons.
It's so needed.
It'll save some of the signs we have around.
I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. I have a statement.
I'd like a motion on the floor.
Motion and with a question.
Been properly moved by Councilwoman Waldman and it's been seconded by Vice Mayor. Now I'll open it up. Yes?
Mayor, council members, I just also want to clarify that this scope of services is still in negotiations with our engineers, and the amount you see here, 38,950, is the ceiling, but we will try to negotiate it down, but not to exceed with this approval. And also we're negotiating the scope of services in terms of the exact thing they need to do. You may see a date on the agreement, September. Unfortunately, that's very deceiving because it was sent and for some reason we never received it, so they send it to us and it goes to junk, but I received it really last week late. And Shirina is working on it, try to negotiate the scope services. When it comes to you, it will be finalized.
Thank you, Mr. Shahada. Councilwoman Waldman, I think you had a comment?
Yes, question and a comment. As I recall, when we first started talking about this several years ago, that Homeland Security was going to be part of this firing range, and also people who they have, I know one guy in particular, John, you know him too, who has a business where they teach fire, I don't know what you call it, fire range shooting, is that what you call it, Chief? I don't know. Target shooting, I don't know. So we'll be able to, I think we'll be able to pay for it with the governmental services that want to use our facility and through private entities. And then I guess the one-on-one, what would you do? Just have somebody work there that would just be checking people in and charging them a fee? Maybe have contracts with the government, but...
We probably have a range master there.
Okay.
And we already have commitments from the federal, state, and local to use it, and also private.
Okay.
So they pretty much take care of itself. But the biggest thing is that we're on it. And that's a big thing for us.
How far have you guys been traveling to do this? I know you were going north.
We were going out in the woods. No, I was kidding. Now right now we use Turkey Point Range, which is hard to get because
Turkey Point Range?
Yeah. Okay. It's hard to get that because those guys are qualifying as well, so it's kind of tough for us to go out there and
I
qualify.
thought at one time you were going north.
Well, we try to go north, but it's no opening.
Okay.
Because the county is also using the range up north. Yeah, ma'am.
It's well needed.
But thank you. Appreciate
Vice
it.
Mayor Burgess and then Mr. Shahada.
I was just wondering, what does an average municipality pay for rental? Do they pay, come in for a yearly contract, or would it be as use, or?
Well, it'll be flexible enough. We haven't worked out all those details, but the way we did it before is most of it was an as-use, but a lot of them used it over and over again, so you could do a longer-term contract with them. And I think that 20 acres and the ability that we would have there, hopefully we'll be able to use all of that, will give us a lot of exercises that are going to be interesting.
And agencies should be self-sustaining?
The maintenance, we think, would be self-sustaining and pay for the range master salary. And, at some point there, if we do something with the civilians, we'd probably control the ammunition used, so they'd buy the ammunition from us rather than some high-powered round that we don't know about being shot out of an exotic weapon or something. So there's a lot of, once we get this going, there's a lot of operational tools that we'll have there.
And this really is a long time coming, very long time. Mr. Shahada?
Actually, I was just going to mention some of the stuff the Vice Mayor and Judy and Kirk mentioned. We did meet with the police department several times with the interests we have. Many are in writing and many are verbal. It could really get to a point where this can be a revenue neutral, or actually could be an enterprise type of fund. But once we have this issue clear and that we can really indeed build a firing range, we will be working on some kind of projections or business plan to see what, in terms of revenues and expenditures, how it looks like.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions from council?
I was going to say, Mayor, that this is also come out of forfeiture. It won't cost taxpayers anything. And also, too, with all the recent shooting that's going on around the county, it's very important that our guys are trained for liability purpose and also for criminal purposes as well.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you all.
Thank you for that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And the ayes carry. Thank you. Item D. Item D, Traffic Control Jurisdiction Agreement, Shores Development Addendum 4.
Mayor and Council, what you have before you is, and we recommend that the City Council approve the attached Traffic Control Jurisdiction Agreement between the City and Keysgate Community Association, Inc., so that we can provide traffic law enforcement services on what is now the private roads. This is required for us to enforce traffic laws on the private roads.
And there is no budgetary impact on this whatsoever. I'll entertain a motion for this.
I'll move it.
It's been properly moved by the Vice Mayor.
Second.
It's been seconded by Councilwoman Waldman. Questions from council? Comments?
I know that living over in Keysgate, I know that the police force has helped us out a lot, and I know that Tim Craig, the president of the Shores, is really appreciative of this and looking forward to you guys helping them some more with the amount of traffic. They have over there was 700, I think it's 711 homes in that one neighborhood. So I think it's time for this over there.
Thank you. And it's important to know that this indemnifies the city as well, because we are talking about a private community, so this legally indemnifies the city. Any further comments, questions? I know we just got the addendum, so.
Yeah.
Yes. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And the ayes carry. Technology, purchase of an additional HD software module, HPD, tab 10.
Mayor and Council, again, at staff's recommendation, the City Council authorize the purchase of software modules from HTE, which is our basic operating system for the whole city. For the City Police Department, the two modules, new additions, are the jails module and the crimes module. Again, this facilitates a number of operations, gathering data, making reports from that data. The jail system, for example, booking photos automatically will go into a database with that person. The old going by and necessarily looking at a book of pictures or photographs, maybe going away as to where you could put out pictures from the software, stored in your data bank, so you can bring them up. For example, a detective's going to show you a 6-picture lineup. They can go in there and put the characteristics in, bring up 6 people that have similar characteristics, which you're supposed to pick out anyway when you're doing the lineup. You can't have them, looking a lot different, except for the subject, that kind of thing. So they can put those together, and quite quickly, by putting the parameters into the software, and they can go into the data bank and always make those up for you.
Thank you.
Just a few things.
Thank you, Mr. Ivy. I'll entertain a motion.
Go ahead, because I move to approve it.
Second. It's been properly moved and seconded. Any comments or questions from council? Yes, Mr.
Just to
Ivy.
mention, for public record, this is a sole source. The HTE is our operating system. It only works against
Very good.
HTE stuff. Okay.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. And the ayes carry. The next item is SunGuard HTE Inc. Software Support Maintenance Agreement and Renewal, tab 11.
Mayor and Council, this is really our standard maintenance contract we have with our HTE system, and it's time for renewal. And again, it's a sole source because of it's our HTE operating system.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
It's been properly moved by Vice Mayor. It's been seconded by Councilwoman Waldman. Any comments or questions from council?
Yes, Mayor Bell, I had a question about cost for renewal. I didn't see anything included in there. Is there anything in regards to change in cost in our renewal contract?
I don't know whether, there's always usually a cost renewal. Was this much of a change in cost from last year?
I believe it was less than 10%.
Everything's 10%.
10%, you said?
I believe so.
Thank you very much. Any further comments or questions from council? All in favor, say aye. Aye. And the ayes carry. Wow. We went through that agenda very, very efficiently. I'm impressed with this council. Anything from you, Mr. Burgess?
Well, just glad to make it through my first night. No, just looking forward to a great weekend here in Homestead with the races, and I know that the police department will do a fine job for us out there, and the manager and everybody else, and just hopefully we'll have a nice, safe weekend, and everybody will have enjoying their time while they're down here and come back to visit us. So,
Mr. Ivy, you have any instructions about the races, anything that we need to know? I mean,
Basically, nothing in particular there. You know where the skybox is, you know where the garage suite, where we bring people in, and where we're located. Your parking places are set for your name. I would suggest, though, if you're coming in, you need to come in early, or else you're going to be in a big traffic jam. That's one thing.
Everybody.
And secondly, if you're coming, well, of course, most people are going to be coming from the west to the east location. But if you're going to get onto 137 Avenue and come in that way, I suggest that you need to catch it further north. Because once you get into, say, 328 or Lucy Street, you come in there, people are going to be directing you someplace that you can't get there where you're parking. So you need to come in further down. Like for me, I come in on 288th Street, just come in that way, and it's a straight shot for me. Especially when the crowd starts to build. If it's early, then you can usually say, look, I got the ticket. They stop you and say, you got to go this way. You say, no, I got this. They usually say this way, and they don't want to talk. So if there's a lot of people, but to avoid all that, I would come down 137.
Thank you.
Get there early.
Thank you. Ms. Douglas, any comments?
Yes, I just want to say it's been a full week. I mean, we've just hit the ground running, and it's been one thing after another, but I do want to thank the staff, starting with the orientation, the 5-hour that went into 8-hour orientation meeting that we had. That was very helpful. I mean, for me, as an incoming council member, that was very helpful, and I did appreciate that all of you stayed with us. And then Patty, I mean, you've just been really good about keeping us on track, so I just wanted to publicly say thank you to you all.
Mr. McCormick, any comments?
Also, the same thing for me. I would just like to say thank you to all the administrative staff. This is my first week, and everybody's been very helpful in bringing me on. So right now I'm in the learning process of trying to grasp the whole thing. It's coming at me real fast right now. So I'm just taking notes and listening. But it's a real fun ride so far. So thank you, everyone.
Councilwoman Waldman?
I just want to remind everybody that if you live in a homeowners association and east of the highway, that usually, I know at the Villages of Homestead, we have little passes to put on our windshield, our rearview mirror, so be sure you pick them up. It's not their responsibility to get them to you, but it's your responsibility to pick them up. And it does work. It really does work. When the police officers see that you are a resident, they do everything they can to accommodate you. Also, the Bird Road Plaza is closed this weekend, unfortunately. So that's going to mean that people are going to be leaving earlier. It's terrible, I know, it's terrible, but they're going to be leaving earlier, and there's going to be probably more traffic because they're going to be bunched up a little more. So I know our wonderful police department's going to handle that beautifully. However, I'm just telling you, don't lose your patience because they're working as hard as they can.
Mr. Shahada.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Shahada.
Mayor, council members, you earlier were talking about the races, and I really like to commend Robert Landon and his staff for changing the signs with a lightning speed. Actually, the next morning the signs were installed. How he does it, I don't know. But
you had
Robert and his staff.
Candidate, just in case. I
think that's what he does. But
I think from now on, when we want to know who's going to win the election, we should go see Robert. He always has it done within just a few hours.
No, but seriously, they are personalized signs. You will find your name and you and your guests. So Robert is doing a great job with that.
I have to tell you, 4 years ago, when I drove into my parking space and I saw parking reserved for Vice Mayor Linda Bell, I sat in my car and laughed. And my daughter and I, we just sat in the car and laughed. It was just so funny. But thank you, Robert, for getting that done. And I really do think he makes them up from each candidate, just in case he's not.
He swears he doesn't. I think he knows who.
Somebody from the track went out there the very next day, took a picture and emailed it to me to show me, which I thought was amazing that you had that done that quickly. I also want to commend staff and thank staff because not only did this council hit the ground running, but staff did as well, and we did have marathon week. I mean, from election day, we have had a marathon week. We have not stopped. So thank you, and I want to thank everybody in the city of Homestead. You have been absolutely wonderful. The comments, the congratulations, and I just thank you for that. I thank you for your support because this team up here has a lot of work to do. And as you can see by tonight's agenda, I mean, I really did pack the agenda on the first night, but I really want to get these things out in the open. But I thank you very much. I thank you for your patience with us. And thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you, Mr. Shahada and Marlene, as well as Patty. We appreciate everything that you do. Have a good, safe weekend at the races. And this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Yeah.